On May 22nd, China experienced its most severe mining disaster in 17 years. Although several days have passed since the accident and media coverage has been overwhelming, it is only today that the core truth behind this tragedy has truly come to light. Why was it that when the accident first occurred, the official report stated that only 8 people had died, but just a few hours later, the death toll suddenly skyrocketed by 11 times as if out of nowhere? Even more shocking is that, aside from the clearly displayed entry roster, there were actually 123 non-existent people hidden underground. So who sent this group of so-called ghost workers down there? Today we will spend 20 minutes uncovering the bloody secrets behind this most tragic mining disaster. Why do the ghosts of deadly mines continue to haunt China? Why, even with advanced technology today, is the fatality rate for Chinese miners still dozens or even hundreds of times higher than that of their American and British counterparts? What untold stories are hidden behind all this? Let's go back to the night of May 22nd. At 7:29 p.m., the carbon monoxide sensor deep underground at the Lushenyu coal mine in Shanxi City, Shanxi Province, suddenly emitted a piercing alarm. The concentration had exceeded the limit. This was a sign of an impending explosion. At first, the official report stated that there were a total of 247 people underground. Of these, 157 had already been rescued, including 4 who had died and another 90 were still trapped below. A few hours later, by the early morning of the 23rd, Xinhua news agency quoted information from the local emergency management bureau, and the situation seemed to be improving. 201 people had already been safely brought to the surface. 8 people had died, and emergency rescue efforts were underway for the 38 people still underground. By around 9 or 10 o'clock on the morning of the 23rd, Xi Jinping issued important instructions regarding this incident, demanding that every effort be made for medical treatment, scientific rescue operations, and strict accountability. In the group, people said that since the top leadership had spoken out, the situation should improve quickly. However, something strange happened. The number of Vietnamese victims kept rising rapidly, like a dam breaking, from 8 to over 50, then to 73. By 2 p.m. that day, CCTV reported on it. There were already 90 people confirmed dead. In just 7 or 8 hours, the death toll had risen from 8 to 90, an increase of more than 11 times. In the end, the number of victims was adjusted to 82. During this period, there were no new explosions, nor was there a second collapse underground. So why did the death toll suddenly skyrocket? Because there were 123 non-existent people underground. At the time of the incident, the personnel board at the mine entrance clearly stated there were 124 people underground. But now, after verification from multiple sources, the actual number of people underground had doubled. There were 247 people, which means that at the time of the incident, there were still 123 people mining coal in the tunnels 300 meters underground, yet there was no information about them in the coal mine system or in the National Safety Supervision records. They had no names, no records, so at first the authorities only discovered that 8 people had died because that's how many people were visible in the system. But when the rescue team carried those non-existent people out of the tunnels one by one, the death toll then soared all the way to 90. So what exactly is the situation with these 123 non-existent people? To answer this question, let's first get to know this mine and the people behind it. Lushenyu coal mine is controlled by Shanxi Tongzhou Group, and this is no small coal pit. It has a 45-year history of mining with an annual production capacity of 1.2 million tons and is officially designated as a mine with severe gas disaster risks. High gas means that the concentration of gas underground is extremely likely to exceed safe limits, and if it comes into contact with an open flame or even static electricity, it can explode. This is the highest level of danger among high-risk mines. The actual controller of this mine is Ren Tieju, who was born in 1960 in Xiaokongyu Village, Qingyuan County. In his early years, he was a shepherd boy, but later he caught the golden age of coal in Shanxi, as well as the wave of shareholding reforms and resource integration for small and medium-sized coal mines. By buying shares to gain control, then buying out joint ventures, he managed to merge several coal mines in one go, eventually building a business that integrated coal mining, coal washing, and coke production. It became a large private enterprise integrating chemical engineering as well. Now, the Tongzhou Group, which he controls, has total assets as high as 10 billion yuan, ranking 38th among the top 100 private enterprises in Shanxi province. In 2010, Ren Tieju's personal fortune even reached 1.6 billion yuan. He made it onto the Huron rich list, and conservative estimates from outsiders put his net worth between 8 and 10 billion yuan. This person has also served as a deputy to the 9th and 10th People's Congress of Shanxi Province, vice president of the Provincial Private Enterprise Association, and has received the Provincial Model Worker title as well as the National May 1st Labour Medal. In 2024, his Shanxi Tongzhou Group's Lushenyu coal industry passed on-site inspections by the local Energy and Coal Supervision departments and was certified as a Level 2 compliant coal mine for standardized safety production management systems. The validity period is 3 years, but in the same year, this coal mine was also listed among the national coal mines with severe disaster risks. In 2025 alone, it was subject to administrative penalties twice, one of which was due to the mine's man-riding car. That's the small vehicle used to transport people down the shaft. The emergency stop protection pull cord was pressed down by a cable, rendering it ineffective. Essentially, it was like the brakes had failed. The other penalty was because at midnight, when workers were going down the shaft, someone wasn't wearing work clothes with reflective markings. The two penalties totaled 50,000 yuan. So you see, it was only in 2024 that they obtained the Level 2 standardization certificate. In the second year, they were penalized twice for violations. And in the third year, such a tragic mining accident occurred. So how did they manage to pass that standardization assessment back then? If you often watch our program, you definitely know the answer. Go to the comments section and enlighten everyone. Wearing the political cloak of a People's Congress deputy and holding the golden signboard of Level 2 standardization, this is truly a dual blessing of both political and administrative power. This gave the Liushanyu coal mine the confidence to recklessly test the limits on the edge of danger. After this accident, some mainland media went to the scene to investigate and interview, and a miner surnamed Chen uncovered a huge scandal within the industry. The key term here is the dark side. In the coal mining industry, the work phases that are legally approved by regulatory authorities and mined within compliance with reported output are called the bright side. Those coal mining points that have not been approved are not marked on the mine's blueprints and are not included in production statistics are called illegal mining points. These are referred to as the dark side. So why do mines secretly exploit these dark sides? To put it bluntly, it comes down to two words. The coal extracted from the dark side is from the same coal seam as that from the bright side. And there is no difference in coal quality. The difference lies in the fact that the dark side often goes beyond the mine's own legal mining boundaries. It's mining that crosses layers and exceeds the approved limits. Normal mining is like legitimately spending money to buy groceries, whereas mining across layers and boundaries is like sneaking into someone else's house to steal their things. For the mine, aside from having to pay workers a bit more, it's almost zero cost. But this kind of blindly mining across boundaries is extremely dangerous. Why? Because when you dig into territory that doesn't belong to you, you have no idea whether there is accumulated water or trapped gas in the mined out area ahead. In addition, many Chinese mines, in order to cut costs, do not follow regulations to spray water during drilling and excavation to suppress dust. As a result, coal dust accumulates more and more underground. This coal dust, mixed with gas, can cause a massive explosion if it encounters a source of ignition. So, behind the words, the dark side, lies the violence of illegal cross-boundary mining. But if this violence wants to quietly make money over the long term, it has to evade supervision. How do they do that? This brings us back to the very first group we mentioned, the 123 people who don't exist. People that no one is responsible for. They go to dig and no one knows about it. First of all, Liu Shengyu employs a large number of outsourced workers. After the accident, mainland reporters went to the mine entrance to chat with the workers, and several of them said they were from outsourcing teams. In other words, they were not official employees who had signed contracts directly with the coal mine. Instead, they were casual laborers introduced by friends. So what kind of situation are these outsourced coal mine workers in? They don't have official positions, no insurance, and no labor protection. A worker surnamed Zhang said that even their safety helmets and rubber boots had to be bought with their own money. The team hadn't even given them a single pair of gloves. Some workers also reported that their wages had been withheld since the end of February, and despite repeated requests, they still couldn't get paid. These are the kinds of people the company hires at the lowest possible cost, then sends them to illegally mine in hidden areas. If something happens, they just settle it privately with a very small compensation, and that's the end of it. This is how Liu Shengyu operates. Next, in order to make sure the hidden mining operations are completely invisible in the regulatory system, there's another crucial step. That is, they don't give these workers location tracking cards. The location card is an electronic tag explicitly required by the China Mine Safety Supervision Bureau for all personnel going underground. It's essentially an electronic ID for miners working below ground. Together with the underground signal receivers, it allows surface dispatchers to know in real time which tunnel each person is in, how many people are underground in total, and where they are distributed. If something happens, workers just need to press the SOS button on their card, and the surface will immediately receive an alert showing their exact location. Under normal circumstances, if a worker doesn't carry a location card, the checkpoint at the mine entrance will detect it. They can't get through at all, which means they can't go down the mine. However, workers operating in the dark areas never receive a location card. Zhang Yong, a 45-year-old miner who survived this accident, said that there is an unwritten rule at the mine for any work area where location cards are not issued. They are all dark areas. He had worked at Liu Shenyu for almost 3 months, always working in the dark areas. He said, "At other mines where I worked, I always had a location card, but here I never received one." According to mainland media outlet China Emergency Management News, among the people who went down the mine this time, 103 did not wear location cards as required, and out of the 247 people, 123 could not be found in the system at all. The vast majority of them were assigned to work in the dark areas. This group of people didn't have location cards, so they couldn't be seen from the surface. If they couldn't be seen, their names wouldn't appear on the public notice board listing 124 people. If they weren't on the notice board, they essentially became people who didn't exist. At the moment of the gas explosion, there was not even a single light on the surface dispatch room's screen to indicate their presence. So how could rescue efforts be carried out? What's worse is yet to come, because not issuing location cards was just one trick to evade inspections. According to Liu Qiang, an experienced miner who worked as a gas inspector in Liu Shenyu around 2012, secret mining operations in Liu Shenyu have a long history. During his tenure, Liu Qiang said that out of every 3 gold-digging faces, there could be 1 hidden illegal operation. Normally, when they heard that an inspection was coming to the mine, they would preemptively seal off the entrance to the illegal mining area with bricks and cement, making it impossible to detect. Once the inspectors left, they would tear down the brick wall and continue mining in secret, keeping it hidden from others. Of course, there wouldn't be any blueprints either. After this explosion, when the rescue team went underground, they found that the mines provided underground blueprints didn't match the actual tunnels at all. Several tunnels weren't marked on the blueprints whatsoever. It was a case of having 2 sets of blueprints, one real and one fake. So the rescue team had no location information, no accurate maps, didn't know how many people were in each tunnel, or even if there were hidden passageways behind some of the tunnels. You tell me, when lives are at stake, how can they do anything but search each tunnel one by one, sifting through them like looking for a needle in a haystack? An industry insider, Mr. Qin Yanlin, said that hidden tunnels are a persistent problem in China's coal mining industry. For regulatory authorities, identifying them poses no technical difficulty at all, because you can tell just by looking. There are newly dug tunnels behind brick walls, but the strange thing is that they just can't seem to find them. It's not that they can't find them, but rather that they don't want to or simply don't bother to check. This has been the long-standing practice of these companies, while official supervision is basically just for show. In addition to this, many other chilling violations have come to light one after another. The most distressing issue is the self-rescuer. According to the CCP's coal mine safety regulations, the isolation-type self-rescuer that personnel carry with them must provide protection for no less than 30 minutes. This is the last breath of air for escaping with your life. However, this time, a surviving miner said that the self-rescue oxygen device he carried ran out after just 7 or 8 minutes. It was depleted in 7 or 8 minutes, compared to the required 30 minutes. This gap of more than 20 minutes is literally the difference between life and death. The delay in issuing the evacuation order was equally despairing. The explosion occurred at 7:29 p.m. that night, but miners did not receive the notification until 10 o'clock. Even when the gas alarm went off before the incident and workers were already experiencing dizziness and vomiting, the management still did not order the main group to stop working. You see, all of this reveals the state of the mine's safety protocols and emergency response system. They are nothing but worthless pieces of paper. From overmining beyond permitted layers to the failure of supervision, Liu Shenyu's tragedy was by no means accidental, but rather an inevitable outcome under the entire CCP system. If we look at the official data, you can see just how frequently this inevitability occurs. From 2000 to 2010, the annual average number of mining accident fatalities in China reached as high as 4,870 people. That's the annual average. In 2020, the CCP established the Mine Safety Supervision Bureau, thinking it would turn the tide, but the list of fatalities kept growing. In 2020, there were 434 mining accidents, resulting in 573 deaths. In 2021, there were 356 accidents with 503 deaths. By 2023, major accidents became as frequent as bubbles in a spirit pearl. In February, the open-pit coal mine in Alxalefbana, Inner Mongolia, collapsed. 53 people slept the eternal sleep. In August, a flash report from the Jintai coal mine in Yan'an reported 11 deaths. In September, a fire broke out on the transport belt at the foot of the Panshan mountain coal mine, resulting in 16 deaths. In November, 10 people died at the Shuangyang coal mine in Heilongjiang. In December, there were 12 mining cart accidents at the Kunyuan coal mine in Heilongjiang, causing 13 injuries. In the United States 55 years ago, mines were also black holes that devoured lives. In 1968, a massive explosion at the Farmington coal mine in West Virginia resulted in 73 deaths. This tragedy tore open the American public's attention to the long-standing high mortality rate among miners, and more people became aware of the dangers of black lung disease, which is pneumoconiosis. The very next year, a turning point arrived. The United States passed the strictest labor health and safety law in its history. First, it mandated that the federal government inspect all coal mines. Surface mines had to be inspected twice a year and underground mines 4 times a year, without exception. Second, and most crucially, the law authorized inspectors to immediately shut down any coal mine on the spot if they discovered life-threatening hazards. Just think about the weight of that. It means that hidden dangers would never be tolerated for even one more day. In China, when Liu Shenyu's emergency stop failed, a fine of 50,000 was imposed, and that was the end of it. The mine continued operating as usual. In the United States, such a hazard would result in the mine being immediately shut down, and it would remain closed until the issue was fully rectified. But you smart folks might be wondering, what if someone bribes the inspector? Wouldn't that be a loophole? Somehow, we tend to think of this possibility. Maybe it's because we've seen too much of it. So, after those 7 years, the United States once again took strong action and established what we now know as the Mine Safety and Health Administration. Not only did it expand the scope of protection, it also eliminated conflicts of interest. As a result, by 2014, the number of coal mine accident fatalities across the entire United States had dropped to just 16 people. Now, let's look at Australia. Australia is the 4th largest coal producer in the world and also the largest coal exporter. Its domestic production is not small at all, but since the year 2000, the annual number of mining fatalities in Australia has consistently remained below 3 people. In fact, in the years 2002, 2004, 2007, and 2012, they even achieved 0 fatalities. Another real comparison metric is the fatality rate per million tons, which means how many people die for every 1 million tons of coal produced. This indicator eliminates the impact of production volume and is considered the fairest international safety benchmark. Research data shows that the fatality rate per million tons in the United States and Australia has remained between 0.01 and 0.04 for many years. But in China, during the coal production peak in 2005, this number was 2.739, and in the 2010s it was even higher, exceeding 6. In other words, the probability of Chinese miners dying underground is 70 to 350 times higher than that of their American and British counterparts. Behind these numbers is the reality of tens of thousands of shattered Chinese families. In today's era of mature technology, the gap in mining accident rates between China and the US is not about equipment, but about the price of human life. Every major advancement in the United States has been built upon a disaster and a new law. In 1968, the loss of 78 lives in Farmington led to the Coal Mine Health and Safety Act of 1969. Subsequent accidents brought about the Mine Act of 1977 and the Mine Improvement and New Emergency Response Act of 2006. Disasters drive legislation, and legislation serves to restrain power and capital. Only when regulation is fully implemented can the death toll begin to decrease. This is the real transformation from risking lives for coal mining to genuine legal and regulatory oversight. In China, however, the laws look impressive on paper, but when it comes to enforcement, they are completely left to rot in the ground. Now, the actual controller of the company involved, Ren Tiju, has already been detained. The State Council has set up a so-called investigation team, claiming they will get to the bottom of things, and the local mayor has bowed and apologized. All these actions look dignified and proper, but you and I both know the truth. We've seen too many so-called serious accountability actions like this. Yet similar tragedies keep happening in China. The 78 lives lost in Farmington, USA, brought 50 years of safety for American miners. But what can the 82 lives lost in China's Liu Shenyu bring? I'll leave that answer to you and to the world. Let's discuss it in the comments section. All right, that's all for today. If you have anything you'd like to say, please leave a comment in the comments section. I'll read every single one of your messages, and if you enjoy my show, please give me a like. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, you're welcome to subscribe to True Perspective. This way, you'll be able to see my newly produced videos more often on your YouTube homepage in the future. You're also welcome to share my show with your friends. Every interaction from you helps me trigger YouTube's recommendation algorithm as much as possible, allowing my videos and my voice to reach a wider audience. Let me thank you all in advance. All right, thank you for watching, friends. That's all for today's discussion. We'll meet again here on Thursday for another episode of this program. Don't miss it. Bye-bye.